Welcome everyone. Now I was recently looking at some of my old Facebook artwork, and I was thinking to myself, you know, this has potential to be a blog. No crazy ass openings for this episode, we're just gonna jump right into it. No playing around this time. I'm only gonna be talking about the pieces of art that have meaning to them. 18 pictures in this blog, out of a total of 41. I know that's like less than half, but I can assure you, too many of them are just crap like this that I'm doubting you guys care about. Without further hesitation, let's get started. The first four I want to show you are kind of abstract drawings. They are this, and this. My brain had to have been on autopilot while making these. Like, you know how today we have AI-generated artwork? Well, this is sort of like when AI-generated artwork was a new thing for aliens that live 500 light years away. Back when they were on par with us, this is what their computers and machines came up with, let's say 600 years ago. Things that were created without actual brains. And while obviously aliens are like far past that now, like them traversing 500 light years is about the same as us traversing 500 miles, so them going from solar system to solar system is kind of like a long road trip for them. But I'm getting off track. Let's move on to the next picture, which is outer space related anyway. This one I like because we can confirm it is 14 years old, June 26, 2009 at 5:36, I'm assuming in the afternoon. Yeah, I know the 3 looks more like an Damn, we know the exact minute that this thing was completed, let alone the day. I was really ahead of the game when it comes to keeping track of time back when I was 9 years old. Like most kids that young don't even consider anything about months or years or anything like that. As for the photo itself, I mean, it's space, not much to it. I guess I do have 2 things to say here though. For one, there's more stars in the lower right than anywhere else. And 2, this blue spiral, which is clearly supposed to be a galaxy, is smaller than the surrounding planets. How does that work, Kale? Planets are supposed to be inside of the galaxy, you dolt. Actually, now that I think about it, have any astronomers ever discovered a planet that's not inside of a galaxy? Like, have you ever even thought about that? Like, we have the whole picture, which is the universe, and I'm not gonna delve into anything that could be outside, but there's the universe, and then there's the trillions of galaxies that are smaller categories, and then inside those trillions of galaxies are billions of planets, which are smaller categories of those. Are there any planets that are just out on their own like that? That would be really interesting if there was. To my knowledge, there isn't, but, you know, there's always going to be parts in space that we will never discover, so who knows. Next picture is also space-related, except it's more inside our solar system. No stars this time around, other than the sun, and this is clearly supposed to be the moon, but for whatever reason it looks bald. Where's all the craters? Did Lunar Jim fill them up with cement? Here you have our planet and what I believe is to be a rocket ship. Yeah, I know, it looks more like a wrench. You see, if I were to have drawn that these days, it would obviously be way different. Today, I would have drawn, like, smoke coming out of the rocket, because here it just looks like it's stranded in the middle of space. But yeah, that's about all there is to that. Okay, next we have yet another space-related one. Probably the best of that category. You have what appears to be a man, an alien, a machine of sorts, and that thing in the background, which we'll just say is the alien's lab or hideout or whatever. Now, this definitely did not come to my mind back then when I drew it, but I think there's a story behind this one. You have a human being represented in blue, and he, or she, I can't really tell, appears to be tied up in like rope or something. You also have the alien giving the thumbs up as in, we're ready, and then you have the teleporter to send the human elsewhere. Can't let that bitch-ass astronaut leave with information of our planet. Send that guy way out there empty-handed, yeah! Alright, time for the next photo, and take a guess what it's based off of. No, really, take a guess, you're never gonna get it. No, really, take a guess. Really. Another freaking space picture. God almighty, who was I back then? Nolan Bushnell? Why was I so weirdly obsessed with space back then? I mean, technically this one in particular is on Earth, but stars are present and they're in outer space, so I'll still count it. This one mystifies me, however. Like, you see all those stars up there, even though the one closest to us should be blocking them out with its light. And also, what's this right here? The cross that Jesus died on? In 2009? Okay, I can assure you we are done with the space pictures. because this next one is of prehistoric times. This dino here looks a bit too humanoid for my liking, or his neck takes up like 80% of his body, kind of like this guy. You have the orange T-Rex in the background, and I know they're supposed to be like 40 feet tall or something, but it's probably still standing on a branch or something in that bush to make it appear even taller. Oh, and the mammoth. I don't know why I couldn't have made the volcano behind him a lighter shade of brown to make it easier to distinguish, but yeah. Here's another picture that represents something from thousands of years ago instead of millions, but this one is clearly supposed to be Greece. You know, with the pillars and whatnot. I'd say this one is mostly fine except for one thing. That cloud in between the mountains right there. Why couldn't it have been, like, in front of that mountain on the right? It looks like it's trying to wedge itself in between both of them, which reminds me of something else, but I'm not gonna bring that up. Okay, well, we're now over halfway done, as we've looked at 11 of the initial 18 that we started with. So let's do another slew of 4 photos that are all tied to each other. 1890, 1976, 2004, and 2027. Looks like there could be another story behind these photos. God knows what I was thinking back then, but this is what I'm thinking now. So during some period in 1890, there were 2 people, probably men due to the overabundance of sexism back then, were climbing a mountain. Then 86 years later, there's this thing that looks like a bazooka with a giant lifesaver gummy on the tip, but we'll just say it's an oil pump, the ones that you're not supposed to be horsing around. And then 28 years after that, it appears that the mountain has been pumped dry of all the oil. And then roughly 3 years in the future from today, we have this. I believe I intended for that to be a volcano, but we'll just say it's a spout that shoots oil. Probably just had the wrong color to represent it or something. We're getting close to the end, but here's another one with just a plain white background. This is supposed to be a robot. Looks pretty cool, honestly. Like, I'm not even being sarcastic. That looks pretty, lit. Kinda reminds me of robot crabs. Here's one that's supposed to be one of those crossing the road signs, except it's basically telling you to watch out for missile planes and UFOs. This could be my favorite drawing out of all the ones that are on my Facebook page. And lastly, the final one, which I know the true meaning and story behind. This thing. It's supposed to be saying, don't stop staying. But I was a miserable speller back then. It's like the sign is telling you to stay parked there for all eternity. That's basically what it's implying. I remember this from a very long time ago, but close to the neighborhood where one of my great-grandmothers used to live, there was a stop sign that was graffitied, and I believe they tried to make it say, don't stop believing, if I remember correctly. You know, based off the 1981 song from Journey. But that didn't come to my mind back then, because, I wasn't really familiar with that song, and if I was, it's just very vaguely. But that about wraps it up for this episode. All in all, there were good pictures, bad pictures, and what the hell pictures. And I just thought I would look through some of them before the year's over. Only one more vlog for 2023, and it won't be for a few weeks after this is uploaded. So in the meantime, you should probably check out some, old classics, like something from Season 8 or something. Until, January comes, and that could be a marathon month, actually. Depending on how long it takes to make the notes and edit and all that. But I gotta knock some of these ideas off my list. They just keep piling up. Adios!